Imagine you're walking through a cold, prehistoric forest. Suddenly, crack. Your leg snaps after falling from a steep rock. The pain is unbearable. You can't call an ambulance. There are no hospitals, no doctors, no painkillers, no antibiotics, and no one even knows what a medicine is. So, how did ancient humans survive injuries that would send us straight to the emergency room today? The surprising answer is, they didn't survive because they were lucky. They survived because they learned, through thousands of years, of painful trial and deadly mistakes. The story begins. Around 50,000 years ago, a small group of hunter-gatherers moved silently across the grasslands. Everyone has a job. Some watch for predators. Others search for food. One experienced hunter spots a deer. The chase begins. He runs over sharp rocks, jumps across a stream, then suddenly, crack, his foot slips. He crashes down a rocky slope. His arm bends at an unnatural angle. Blood begins to drip from deep cuts. The hunt is over, but now, the real fight begins. Not against a wild animal, but against pain, infection, and death. Today, a broken arm is usually treated in a hospital within hours. Back then, there was no doctor waiting. Yet, surprisingly, many ancient humans with broken bones did survive. How do we know? Because archaeologists have discovered skeletons that tell an incredible story. Some ancient bones were broken, but later healed almost perfectly. That means someone lived for weeks, sometimes months, after suffering a serious injury. A person with a broken leg couldn't hunt, couldn't run, couldn't gather food, yet they stayed alive, which raises an even bigger question. Who kept them alive? The answer changes the way we think about prehistoric humans. They weren't just survivors. They cared for each other. When someone was injured, the group often shared food, protected them from predators, and waited while the bones healed. In other words, the first hospital wasn't a building. It was the tribe itself. And the first doctors weren't trained experts. They were family, friends, and generations of people learning from experience. But helping someone survive a broken bone was only the beginning. There was an enemy far more dangerous than the injury itself, an invisible killer that ancient humans couldn't even see. Infection, and the way they unknowingly fought it, is one of the most fascinating survival stories in human history. The broken bone wasn't the biggest danger. The real enemy was something ancient humans couldn't see. A tiny cut, a scratched hand, or even a small animal bite could become deadly, not because of the wound itself, but because of infection. Long before microscopes, people had no idea that bacteria even existed, but they noticed something. Some wounds healed, while others slowly turned red, swollen, and filled with pus. The fever would rise. The injured person became weaker every day, and soon they were gone. It must have seemed like an invisible curse. Yet over thousands of years, ancient humans began discovering something remarkable. Some natural materials seemed to help wounds heal better than others. They didn't know why, but they remembered what worked. Across different parts of the world, people used crushed leaves, tree bark, plant fibers, clean clay, or cool running water to wash injuries. Some plants naturally contain chemicals that can reduce inflammation or slow the growth of certain bacteria. Modern science has confirmed that some traditional medicinal plants really do have helpful properties. Not every ancient remedy worked. Some probably made things worse. But generation after generation, successful ideas were remembered, and dangerous ones were slowly abandoned. This was the beginning of human medicine, but healing a cut was much easier than healing a broken bone. Imagine trying to survive with a shattered leg, while lions, hyenas, or wolves could appear at any moment. You couldn't run, you couldn't hunt, you couldn't even keep up with your tribe. So why weren't these injured people simply left behind? The answer comes from one of archaeology's most amazing discoveries. Scientists have found ancient skeletons with severe injuries that healed over many months. Some individuals had broken legs, damaged arms, or disabilities that would have made hunting nearly impossible. Yet they lived for years afterward. That could only mean one thing. Someone fed them. Someone protected them. Someone refused to abandon them. In a world with no doctors, the greatest medicine wasn't found in a plant. It was human compassion, and sometimes that compassion was the only reason someone lived long enough to heal. But there was still one terrifying problem. What happened when the injury was so serious that no herb, no family, and no amount of care could save you? But ancient humans didn't just wait and hope. Over thousands of years, They became careful observers. They noticed that some plants seemed to reduce pain, others helped stop bleeding, and certain tree resins formed a protective layer over wounds. They had no idea about chemistry or bacteria, but they trusted what experience taught them. This knowledge wasn't written in books. It was passed from parents to children around campfires for countless generations. Little by little, humanity built its very first medical knowledge. Archaeologists have even found evidence that some prehistoric people survived after serious injuries that required months of recovery. One famous example comes from Shanidar Cave in present-day Iraq. The skeleton of an ancient Neanderthal shows severe injuries, including damage to an arm, a leg, and partial blindness. Yet he lived for years after those injuries. That would have been impossible without constant care from other members of his group. It reveals something extraordinary. Ancient humans weren't just strong, they were compassionate. They protected the weak, shared food with the injured, and waited patiently while broken bodies healed. In many ways, that was the world's first healthcare system. Not hospitals, not doctors, but people helping people survive. And that simple act of caring changed human history forever, because every person who survived could pass on valuable knowledge, which plants helped. How to stop bleeding, how to set a broken limb, how to care for the sick. Each generation learned a little more than the last. Slowly, those lessons became traditions, then practices, and eventually the foundation of medicine itself. But even with all this knowledge, there was still one enemy that ancient humans feared the most. An enemy no herb, no tribe, and no experience could always defeat. Death thousands of years passed. Human knowledge kept growing. Then, something changed everything. People stopped wandering and began building permanent villages. For the first time, they could grow food, store supplies, and care for the sick for much longer. Some people became skilled at treating injuries. Others learned which herbs eased pain, which leaves helped wounds heal, and which plants were dangerous. This was the beginning of the world's first healers. As civilizations rose, in places like Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, India, and China, medical knowledge became more organized. People started recording treatments, sharing discoveries, and learning from one another. Simple observations slowly became medicine. Medicine became science, and science changed the fate of humanity. Today, a deep cut can be stitched in minutes. A broken bone can heal with a cast. A dangerous infection can often be treated with antibiotics. These life-saving advances may seem ordinary, but they are the result of thousands of years of human curiosity, courage, and compassion. Every generation added one small piece to the puzzle of survival, and together, those tiny discoveries built the modern healthcare system we depend on today. So the next time you visit a doctor, take medicine, or walk out of a hospital safely, remember this: the story of medicine didn't begin in a laboratory. It began with frightened families gathered around a campfire, doing everything they could to save someone they loved. Without those early humans, there would be no doctors, no hospitals, no modern medicine. Their greatest discovery wasn't a miracle cure. It was the decision to care for one another. And that simple choice changed human history forever. Thanks for watching.